Hey, it looks like we're live. All right, Travis coming in here. For everybody that's logged in to watch this or will be watching it later on, this is our first postseason roundtable for OWM. This year was the sixth year that we hunted together, had this thing called OWM going, and we finally decided, with much of his prodding, that we would do us a roundtable at the end of the year. We've wanted to do one of these for a while, but after season's over, everybody kind of gets busy and we can't get everybody together. But so for everybody that's watching, or everybody that is going to be watching this, thanks for watching it. It's just going to be a recap of how our year went and what our goals and stuff is for next year and the directions we'll be going in. And with that, we had some big events this year that weren't something that had happened before with us. And Brad, your big event was?
I had my first child, conveniently, in October, which is also the same month that I got married in previously. So October is pretty well shot for me for the rest of my life for hunting. But I'm going to focus on November. November's looking good. Fingers crossed, maybe. And was able to get a little bit of time in the woods this year before she got there, and blessed to have a beautiful baby girl. She's 3.5 months old now, so no complaints on that at the end of the day. So
if all goes well, you won't hear her, but you may hear her. She's upstairs, and we've got Travis's better half watching her for us, so he could be here and do his part of it. And then Travis, you had some big things go down.
Oh yeah. First thing is that got married. Have a lovely wife, and then our next adventure was we bought some land, about 15 acres over in Cabarrus County, and so we've already started on that. Hopefully we'll get a house built this year, and the next thing is my wife is due here next month, February 24th. So big changes for me, and definitely for Brad too, and we're a little nervous but excited at the same time. But we've enjoyed it and looking forward to 2019. So, what else we got going here?
Well, as far as questions or anything, how everybody's season went, mine was probably the best season I'd ever had. Brad started us off with the first kill this year, and how did that work out? What'd you get?
Worked out pretty good. I was up hunting in Concord, and right at last light, there's kind of a power line set up, and I'm hunting just inside the wood line from there. So I didn't have a whole lot of light left, but it was still, right there at the end of legal shooting time. And had what I thought was a doe come in, ended up going maybe 50, 60 yards, ended up finding it was a unicorn. It was a single spike. So I didn't lead off with my most graceful hunt to start with.
There are those who have and those who will.
That's it. So had a good season last year, and hopefully get a little more time in the woods next year and make up for my unicorn this year.
Yeah, and then after that, I think I got the next here on the farm beside the house. Got the doe up in the mountains in North Carolina, the OWM Northern Outpost.
That's the first year taking up there.
Yeah, we got that there, and which is kind of a challenge because it seems like we have more bears up there than we do deer. But it's a mystery. We got all those thousands of acres of land, and it seems like we've only seen one decent-sized buck on the cameras. There's tons of does and young bucks, but with all that land, you'd think we'd see more big deer, but we haven't seen hardly any big deer.
It's coming back though too. It didn't have a bout with EHD.
Yeah, they had
a few years ago.
They had EHD a few years ago, and it really put a hurting on them. And
also the fire too.
Yeah, and then there was a fire up there too that burned a bunch of underbrush and stuff out, so it's difficult for them to find browse because everything that was low to the ground got burned up. But whacked a doe up there, and then came down here the next day and whacked a small buck over on the farm the very next day. And then I think the next thing we got after that was a bear.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
We got the bear, and that was an adventure.
I was working that night, so I was kind of glad.
Yeah, I think I've had the feel of whacking bears until it had to be something substantial to show up. So it's up to you next year to try to stick a bear.
Love to.
And that was awesome, by the way. This guy right here, with a single phone call or text, he drops everything and hops in the car for almost 2 hours to drive up there and help me.
And a newborn baby to my wife and said, I love you.
I gotta go.
It needs me.
Yeah, it was all hands on deck. Had Linda, John, and Dakota helping out, and Brad drove up. Of course, Christy was there. It was a real eventful evening, but man, it was a lot of work, a whole lot of work.
Up and down a ravine,
Yeah,
giant ravine, in the rain.
yeah, and fog.
And foggy, oh yeah.
We were basically coming out of there that night using Braille because we couldn't see further than 10 feet in front of the four-wheeler. It was a mess.
Yeah.
But after we did that, we
and then the deer processor. On top
oh
of
yeah, the deer
processor.
processor was closed and wouldn't take it after hours, so we had to right there in the driveway. We had to quarter that thing up and we quartered it up, cleaned it and everything, and put it in coolers and took it the next morning. But that's a lot of work. So from here on out, unless it's something gigantic, it's on you next year to whack something and try to get a bear on the ground. And you too, if you want.
Yeah, my wife, she wants a bear skin rug so bad, so I gotta
step it up, gentlemen.
I guess I
can
need
say.
to probably step into that arena at some point and go bear hunt. But
My advice is cardio, just to get ready for it. Then after the bear adventure, we made a trip to Missouri.
Yeah.
That was a road trip. We got there. It was like everything was stacked against us, but we managed to pull off there at the end. We had vehicle troubles, brake issues. Big shout out to Chris Joyner, which hopefully some point in time he'll watch that. I know he's not with us now, but and then Don Townsend, who would have, if it wasn't possible, this deer back here behind me, there it is right there, the big guy at the top, wouldn't have had an opportunity to kill that thing, but had Don hook me up and give me a place to hunt and put me on top of that thing, and that was great. So thank you, Don. And it was the day after Brad had to go back. It was a whirlwind 48 hours there because we hunted that morning after we picked up the truck, and then loaded everything up, went down, dropped you off in Kansas City. Chris let me hunt at his dad's place there in Kansas City. Drove back up to Bethany that night and got up the next morning, hunted there in Bethany, and then hopped in the truck that afternoon, drove all the way up to the northwest corner of Missouri to Don's place. And but it was well worth it, man. Don put me in a great spot, put me on some deer, and it was within 10 minutes of being in the tree, there were deer everywhere. It was awesome. And got this guy, the biggest 8-pointer I've killed in my life. And then loaded all that stuff, came back, and then I think did you get to the next one?
Mine, I got all mine in December.
Okay.
So my first one I got was December 5th, and this is my very first deer I've taken with a bow. So it's been a long journey. Everybody that's
long overdue.
that has followed us since we started out knows how difficult it's been for me. And of course, I had taken a lot of razzing and teasing, and but I stuck with it and kept going with it. And I think even last year, Ken, he had a moment where he was sitting in his stand, and it's middle of October or something like that, and he still hadn't gotten shot in anything yet.
Yeah.
And Ken was starting to get down. He was like, man, he says, this is miserable. I don't know how you do this. I'm like, well, it's something I enjoy, and the three of us can to attest to this also. It's not about just going out there and shooting something.
It's not about killing something.
I just enjoy being in the woods, and that's what's really kept me going, and also just seeing how each day, when you're going out there and you see that day start, the sun's coming up, birds are coming alive, the squirrels are driving you nuts. But then when the day is starting to end, you know, everything starts to quiet down, and then you start hearing the coyotes start howling, and I enjoy that probably the most part of it. But getting back to my very first deer, I actually harvested on my piece of property that I purchased this year. So that's what made it even better. It was my first bow harvest, and it was on my own land. And then it was 2 days later, and I'm sending these two guys a text and said, "Hey, I did it again."
Getting easier.
So that was probably an amazing moment where I just couldn't believe that they said once you crack that can open, then it starts coming a little bit easier. And I didn't think it would be that easy. 2 days later, I got another one.
Yeah, Travis got the monkey off his back and kicked him down the road.
Yeah,
It was quick.
yeah. So made the wife happy. I got a freezer full of meat now, and so we should be set for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Ken is going to do any, and I might be able to get in a few hunts, but we have the urban archery season opening. I think it's this 12th, the 12th. Yep. So a couple days. It'll open up and be back in the woods, and hopefully maybe we'll get another one or two. So
yeah, I don't know if I'll be doing any or not, but I'd like to, but got to work it in as a schedule and everything. But anyway, I left out 2 deer that I killed. I killed one on Halloween, killed an acorn on Halloween, and I turned around and killed another one on I killed one in the 7th in Missouri, and then I killed one on the 17th. On the 17th, and then we rolled into December, and you killed your 2 back to back. And I think that was it for me. And then, so that was our season. I mean, there was a random coyote kill that I shot here in the backyard with a rifle, so that doesn't count. But it was a very successful year for us. We got to do a lot of travel, a lot of hunting in different places, meet some cool people.
I think that's kind of why I really pushed the issue of having a round table. I finally was able to have something to contribute.
What are you talking about?
Instead of me, I walked in the woods, sat there, and walked back out.
Yeah. Next bullet step here is see what.
Or you want me to hit some questions real quick?
We got some people asking questions.
Well, Mike Bush, he says, "What's up, guys?"
What's up, Mike? Thanks for the arrows, man. They were great. Can't wait to find something to stick with them.
And he said, "Get a trad deer."
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. Might be next year, but I'm definitely got that on the list.
Let's see. We got a lot of hay guys out there. Mick asks, "Is that a grape soda? Is it a Fago?" Nope, it's just a generic grape soda.
Man. We're low budget.
Oh yeah, we want to say hey to our sponsors here.
Beef and cheese sticks.
It'll fix most anything.
Yeah, this is like a very good sedative for Mr. Weef right here. Give him a great drink and beef and cheese stick, and he's calm as a baby.
Yeah, I tend to get wound up sometimes, and they know when they go in the convenience store, bring a beef and cheese stick and great drink, throw it at me, and
yep.
I don't know if they're giving me that. Yeah, I don't know if they're giving me that, so I put something in my mouth and shut up, or they're giving me that hoping it actually sedates me. But either way, it works, right?
Let's see. Mick Dunley, he's also a guy from North Carolina. He said that he lives in the eastern north part of North Carolina. He says, "When are we going to meet?"
Yeah, he's up in Dunn.
The hard part is I know Brad's busy, and I'm really getting ready to be busy. But maybe at some point we can try to get together and have a little meet and greet.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mike Bush, again, he's from New Jersey, and he says come up there and kill some big bears.
You got him too. Some of the pictures he posted, there's some big ones.
Yeah.
Mike and his wife both killed bears on the same trip in the same day.
Wow.
So congratulations to them. That was awesome. You guys had some great looking bears.
This is my stepdad, Tim Hunter. He's been on me for ever since I started hunting with you two guys, that if one of us harvests a deer, that he wants the heart and liver. And it seems like each time it's not an easy place because like where we hunt at here in South Carolina, we're up in the mountains, and and it's hard to pack out, and plus keeping it cold and that far away. But this year, my very first doe that I harvested, I did save the heart and liver for him. So at some point he will, I guess, enjoy that. I'm not going to eat it with him, but he can have as much as he wants as long as he cooks it in his own house. So, and Elizabeth Wood here says, let Brad talk.
Say something, Brad.
So Brad, go.
Say hey, Elizabeth.
Well, it's good to see you. Good to see you. Been a little while, so everything's good on this side. Hope you and Ron are doing good. Just trying to keep up with the little baby running around. It takes all the energy and sleep and
Time.
creativity, and yeah. But hopefully next year we're going to have a little more of a routine, and she's going to be mobile then, so that's going to be another factor. But we're going
to equipment.
figure it out.
Okay. Well, you're sporting your.
Yeah. Let's start with Brad. Let's talk about equipment that we use, and you can talk about your setup.
I shoot a Bow Madness 34 made by PSE. It's shooting about 60, 62 pounds. Mechanical broadhead. They use the knockoff hypodermics, the Chinodermics they call them, which are a whole lot cheaper.
That's
Schwacker, yeah. A whole lot cheaper, but you do got to watch. Sometimes the weights will, with the Chinodermics, so the grains will vary a lot with them. So I weigh them, and there might be a handful I throw out, but they're a lot more cost effective than the real things, and I had good success with them. This year I kind of had been gaining a little weight, so I made a bet with my wife that if I lost 19 pounds, get down back to 185, that I could get the Garmin Aero bow sight, which is a combination range finder. It draws the pin for the exact distance you're shooting, that kind of stuff, and just an awesome toy. It's way expensive, but it was just a goal for me, and hopefully be able to utilize that a little more next year. So,
and then he's going to develop it into a laser range missile kind of thing where he just pushes the button and the arrow just shoots off
takes
itself.
a little fun out of it, but yeah, it's an interesting debate because people talk about technology in the woods and it takes a little bit of sport out of it, and I think that's a valid concern. And where I've gotten a little more techie, a segue into Ken has gone the other direction.
I'm devolving. I tried to take the jump into traditional archery this year, and I've shot bows for quite some time, and I've tried several times to do the traditional thing, either with a recurve, and finally I purchased a longbow, and man, oh man, it's complete starting from zero. Nothing that you do or know on compound bows is useful at all in traditional archery. And Mike has been very helpful. Mike Bush been very helpful with helping me learn from zero and working my way up to shooting a longbow and trying to get proficient with it. I didn't have an opportunity this fall to stick anything with it. Had does with fawns and young bucks in front of me, but man, it was frustrating.
I interrupt you, but your wife just texted, "Where's your child?"
She's in good hands.
Don't worry, Kim. My wife's watching it right now, so she just fell asleep. So she's good.
Everybody knows more than I do.
We got a Velcro to the wall. She's not going anywhere. She's safe. But yeah, the traditional thing is very difficult. So I've been jumping that hurdle. So I'm shooting a Galaxy Black Ridge hybrid longbow, which is kind of an entry level traditional bow. I figure once I get where I'm efficient and lethal with it and take a few deer, I might step up, spend some money on something nice like a Savannah, a Damon Halton Savannah, or maybe a Savannah Stealth. But I'm not at the point where I want to drop that much money on something until I can get good enough to where I can justify it.
Not gonna be long, I bet.
I'm working on it though. Primary bows from a compound, as you can see, I'm a Martin fanboy. There was a time frame between around 2010 to 2013 that Martin made Onzas and some Riteras that I absolutely love the grip on and the cam systems on them. And it's kind of a niche bow. There's like this small niche of people that absolutely positively love them and will snub their nose at a brand new bow because they don't want to give that thing up. And Don knows exactly what I'm talking about. When I was out there in Missouri, I saw his collection. His collection of Martins and Riteras make mine look like nothing. I've got right here beside us, there's five Martins in that cabinet. There's 4 Onzas and a Ratera X Alien X, and those things are just flat out shooting machines. I'll shoot them. I got an Elite 35, and I'll shoot them toe to toe with an Elite 35 all day long. Just absolutely love shooting those things. Catch a lot of flack for it sometimes from people, but I love them.
Yeah, you bought one just for parts too, didn't you?
Yeah.
Just...
You can't get parts from them anymore. You have to scrounge for them. So I have extra limbs, extra cams. If I can find one with a busted limb on it, somebody's getting rid of for a deal, I'll try to pick one of those up just so I have parts to keep them running. And it's a good thing to do that because one of the 8-pointers that I shot this year, the last arrow that came off of that bow, I looked and there was a splinter coming off the bottom limb. So that set of limbs isn't good anymore. So I have to put another set of limbs on it. But I'll keep them. My goal is to be the last guy on the planet with a shootable Onza.
Back up to the backup to the backup of the original backup. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But I love them. Nothing shoots better than that. So that's my go-to stuff. I've got other bows to shoot, but those are the ones I'm always carrying in the woods. Travis?
With me, I have, well, of course, again, I just started bow hunting 5 years ago. And Ken here, he was the one that kind of got me into it. And of course, like he was just saying about doing the traditional bow, I wasn't going to spend, $1,000 on a bow and wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy it or like it or not. So, and I didn't go, all the way to the bottom of the rung as to what bow I want. With me, Ken just said, hey, go to a shop or go to Bass Pro or something like that and see how it feels in your hand. And I ended up picking a PSE Stinger 3G. And actually, this is my second one, the original one that I purchased. I still have that one. Actually, that's the one I killed both my does with this year. And Ken kind of was like, you might want to get another one because as if you go to Missouri, you don't want to be without a bow. We drive 15 hours to get out there, and you're out there for a week and a half. And
pop a string.
Yeah, you pop the string, bend, accidentally drop it, bend a cam or something, and you might be spending the rest of the time just sitting there watching. And so I ended up buying another one, and this is not one that you can buy from PSE anymore or find it in a store, because I like the solid limb bows. They still make a Stinger, but it's a split limb. And it's just my personal preference, but I don't care for them too much. So I was able to find another solid limb bow. And I don't shoot a heavy poundage. I only shoot like 58, 59 pounds. And then, so that might, and I'm just leading that reason into as in which broadhead I use. I use a Magnus Stinger broadhead, and I like that just because I don't shoot a heavy poundage. So to me, I find this punches through a lot better. And the thing I like about these is 100% guaranteed. So if you shoot something, it's a rock, bends tip, send it back to them. They send you a brand new one, which I did twice last year. That's me. I like the broadheads. I do carry one mechanical, but I haven't used it yet. So I know these two guys, that's mainly what they've shot was mechanicals, but I haven't really used one yet. I just have it in my quiver, but I don't know. What's your guys' opinion on?
Brad shoots basically a giant tomahawk on the end of his arrow. That hypodermic makes a wound like this. There's parts falling out sometimes when he hits something with it.
That did happen, unfortunately. I think the mechanical, it gives you a little more grace, I think, just because he's got a larger cutting area. At the end of the day, though, I mean, the poundage we're shooting and fixed, the fixed is probably going to penetrate a little more because it's not going to burn up some of that energy when it's hitting the deer and it's actually doing the deployment. So probably, for larger body deers and Missouri deers, I think actually you're on the right track with a fixed. Just from my point of view, I do like the fixed in that situation. So
I was wondering if you used a fixed blade. Remember that buck that we searched for like 2 days? I wonder if you used a fixed blade. Or...
That was actually a swacker. I used a stinger on the deer when we first started hunting, and it was a liver hit. And we searched for it and couldn't find it. But the one that you're talking about that I hit the shoulder, that was a swacker.
No, I wonder if you had used a fixed blade. I wonder if it had been a different out.
Oh, it might have got some penetration instead of folding up or whatever. But
Right.
It could have been the same thing about used a steelhead.
Yeah.
But I think we all shoot right at 58 to 60 pounds. And I shoot a 1.75 inch swacker. Brad shoots a 2.3 hypodermic.
it's 2.0.
It's 2-inch hypodermic, and then he's getting an 1 16 on this stinger.
Yeah, and it's like a 4-blade.
And the big thing is it's like Ford, Chevy, Dodge, whatever. I mean, it's a sharp, pointy thing on the end of a heavy arrow. It's gonna kill a deer. It's all about shot placement. Shot placement's key as far as that goes. We got Shannon Allman on here, by the way. I just want to say, hey, hope you're feeling better, healing up. Things are going good for you. Let's see. Our next item on here is, let's see, where do we get to? Locations.
Yeah, look.
Where everybody hunted this year?
Yeah. Well, since I didn't get to go to Missouri, if people saw, I think it was March, you and I went out to Missouri.
The road trip.
Ken and I went out to Missouri back in March, and we were planning, or I was planning on coming out to Missouri this year to hunt also. But with my land and my wife at that time, she's 6 months pregnant. So it wasn't probably a good idea for me to leave the state. So I didn't go this year. So I know Ken went out and then Brad went out with them, and stay out a couple of days or so.
Yeah, I had to. I didn't want to push too much with a newborn at home, so we had it's about 5 days out there.
Yeah, from the time we left the house to the time we came back in.
Yeah, so probably 3 days of hunting. When we were out there too, it was kind of a lot of rain, a little bit warmer than usual. We didn't have the perfect full moon like we did the previous year.
One question I got, was there a James Meade out there
No,
this year?
there was no James Meade this year. No.
No. Just go ahead, Ken. I don't know if you want to tell a story. If you do, we got to eat that.
James Meade was a guy who was out there year before last. I was sitting in a tree off the end of a point and seen some nice deer. Brad had killed his nice buck the day before, I think it was. And this guy sits up in a tree stand, maybe 50 yards behind me, and he's just blowing this grunt call nonstop. I mean, it was nonstop. It's just going until the sun goes down. And so we meet out in the parking lot, and he's out there, Brad's out there manipulating him, getting all of his personal information that he can so we can do some intel on him.
There's people that want you to like them, and they're trying to impress you. So I just made the opportunity more prevalent than he was already forcing it to.
Yeah.
And this went on for quite some time. And we learned that he is the
world's greatest hunter. I'm sure Fred Bear learned from him.
That's where I was actually going to go.
Yeah.
Was he related directly?
I'm thinking he mentored Fred Bear. But anyway, so this individual that knew that I was sitting in this tree that he had set up within just like 50 yards of me. Oh. I go back the next morning thinking, okay, he'll go somewhere else. I'm sitting there. As soon as the sun starts to come up, weather's perfect. There he goes again, grunting. I turn around and look. There he is, same guy.
Waving at you.
Goes on till lunch, and then he finally climbs down. Well, I get down out of the tree and meet Brad in the parking lot, and we go to eat lunch, and I'm just like a chainsaw stuck wide open. we go into the convenience store. Brad's like, pull over, pull over. We go into the convenience store. I'm like, man, he must have to go to the bathroom or something. He comes out and he's got a bag full of beef and cheese sticks, candy bars, all this stuff, just throwing it at me. So James Mead is kind of like
Your nemesis.
I just see him right here. James Mead is the hunting version of Stacey Ibanez. Oh, anyway, so with that, where were we going? Oh, I hunted North Carolina, South Carolina, and I did Missouri, which I absolutely love going out there every year. And then you did North Carolina, South Carolina.
Yeah, we got a chance to go to South Carolina a little bit, a couple days.
In Missouri.
Missouri for a couple days, and yeah, the temperature wasn't right. But I think you said they're moving gun season back a little bit, so that may give us the opportunity to hunt a little later in November, kind of in the middle. Yeah, the first to the middle of November there. So hopefully that'll a little cooler temperatures.
It'll be good. It'll be good because things get crazy during gun season out there. I mean, the last couple of days of bow season leading up to the weekend, you see guys walking around with a bow in their hand. They're scouting for a place to rifle hunt that weekend, but they're just walking through the woods with a bow in their hand at the odd chance that they might get a chance to shoot at a deer, but they're not hunting. All they're doing is stirring the deer up and ruining things for the guys that are still there the last couple of days of bow season. So moving that back is really going to help us out for next year.
I just hunted in North Carolina this year. I hunted out at my place 3 times, and I hunted it down in Anson County this year a couple times. So I didn't get out to hunt that much, but then again, my percentages were pretty good this year. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good percentages. Don says he's looking forward to seeing us next year. We gotta get with you and find us a place to lease for a week. Come out there and hunt with you. You find a farm, and we'll find a way to make it happen.
Yep.
Now, lessons learned from this past season. Kick us off, Brad. What did you learn?
Don't shoot unicorns.
Don't shoot unicorns. Don't have babies and get married in October.
Those are important things. Technology can help you in the woods. Technology can also burn you. I've had a cell phone camera, and it's a great tool, especially real time. You're sitting in a tree stand, and you get a picture of across 40 yards from you, there's a deer that you can't see and you never see eyes on. So that technology will hurt you in that way. And but I think it's probably lessons learned. The biggest things is just practice. The deer are never going to come where you hope they're going to come from, you think they're going to come from. And so I think just being prepared for anything with bow hunting, the wind changing on you in a heartbeat. Are you going to move your stand? Are you going to, what's your backup plan? If you have an equipment failure, especially the Garmin bow sight, if I have a failure, I have no pins. I have no backup pins. Now there's a low battery mode. Garmin's done some mitigation there, but that's another thing that kind of bad side of technology. But I think just timing the stand is always one of the most important things, and knowing when not to go into the stand so that you're not educating those deer and you're not spreading your scent around. Those are always kind of big key points.
Is that it? Good.
That's it for me.
All right, man. For me, lessons learned. For the first 8-pointer that I shot here on the farm, there was a doe and 2 yearlings jumped over a fence, and I mean, they were cooking. I could tell something was chasing them, but my brain was saying coyote, being chased by a coyote, or maybe the farmers on the other side of the field, and you stirred them up. And I was kind of being lackadaisical, just videotaping them with the phone as they ran by, and put the phone up, and I'm seeing another deer come across the top of the hill, and I'm not thinking anything about it because this is still October. Not thinking rut. Everybody thinks rut, mid-November. And then deer jumps across the fence into the woods, and I look and I see antlers. I'm like, holy cow. And lucky for me, he comes in over here at 1 o'clock and stops. And I was able to get a shot on him and kill him. For me, the lesson there is always be ready. If you see, something like that and a doe's running from something, don't automatically assume that just because it's earlier in the year that it's running from a coyote or a farmer. Take every opportunity that you can to get ready and be prepared, because you only get one shot at it. Other thing I learned was using the sun. I've tried this before, to set up in a stand where in the mornings or in the evenings the sun would be at your advantage, where it'd be at your back, and you're expecting the deer to be out in front of you, where the sun would be blinding them, they couldn't see you. The second 8-pointer that I killed on the farm, this was just blind luck. I mean, the spot was a great spot, and I've killed deer there before, but I'm sitting in the tree, the sun's just cleared the edge of the ridge, and it's blasting down. I mean, bright, really, really bright, right over the edge of the ridge. And the deer comes in right off my left shoulder. He was really close. I didn't hear him come in, and I was like, oh, I'm reaching for the bow. Now, this deer was less than 10 yards from the tree that I was in, and I know he could smell me. And I'm moving around, and he can hear me because I can see his body language. And as I move, he kind of flinches and moves his body, and he's got his ears turned towards me. He goes behind the tree. I have to do a 180-degree turn back to my right, and he passes by on the right-hand side. Well, he's hearing all this movement, and I can tell that he can hear me, but then I realize he's looking straight into the sun. He can't see anything. He's blinded by the sun. He can smell me, and he can hear a noise, but he doesn't know where it's coming from. So that was a great lesson that, if you can set up in a location and use a rising sun or a setting sun to your advantage for an ambush, it's very productive. Had the sun not been in that position, that deer would have busted me, and he'd been gone in a heartbeat. Other thing I learned was that bears don't make any noise. Bears don't make any noise at all. I'm sitting up in my tree, and I'm actively looking for these things. There's a 250, 300-pound bear walking around. You think you're going to see it or you're going to hear it. And I'm actively looking for, these animals. And as I pan back around, right here in front of me, less than 12 yards, is a bear that's just walked right out of the laurels. And he's right in front of me, and he is not making a sound. So that was a huge lesson to learn, that, don't anticipate you're going to hear twigs or leaves when you're bear hunting, because those guys, they walk around, and I don't know if it's because the pads are soft or what, but he walked right up on me and didn't make a sound. Also, wind. This was a big thing. We try to work with the wind. We're not fanatical about hunting based on the wind. If we get a change in the wind, we'll still sit in the tree and hunt the rest of the afternoon. We won't load up and reposition. But when we were in Missouri, we set up on the edge of a bedding area, and first couple of days we were seeing deer like crazy. I mean, they were there all over the place, bucks, does, everything, and the trails going in and out of the bedding area where the deer were coming by us. And then on the morning of the third day, the wind had shifted 180 out, and it was blowing directly from where we were right into the bedding area. And it was like someone flipped a switch. We didn't see anything. And we did what we do here. We sat there, and we just sat the rest of the day there, because it's just what we do here. Because here the wind's a little more fickle. There, I guess it's because the terrain's a little more rolling and flat. It's pretty predominant out of one direction. It doesn't swirl much. Here, where we hunt in the mountains, it swirls a lot because you got morning thermals and evening thermals, plus the predominant wind that's coming based on the weather pressure that's pushing it through. But there, it was instant. When you're on a hunt where you've got 5 days to get it done, you don't want to waste a sit or an afternoon. That was the lesson, was that once that wind shifts and it's blowing in there, you're done. Whether you think you're done or not, you are done. Just take your stuff down, reposition, set up on a bedding area where that wind's going to be in your favor, because all you're doing is wasting time. You're not accomplishing anything. And the other lesson is that traditional archery is really pretty hard.
Well, that you mentioned about setting up, taking down, that's another thing. I changed some of my equipment this year, where I went to the microlight stand that you got that a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And it's light. It only weighs what, like 7 pounds? The stand.
7.5 pounds just to stand still.
And whereas normally or as Ken called my very first stand, he called it my condo. That thing probably weighed what, 20?
Yeah, you were 19 to 20 with that.
Yeah, about a little over 20 pounds.
A lot of room though.
Yeah, I had a lot of room. You can have a party up there. But I've did narrow down. I went down to 14 pounds. But this was my first year using a microlight, and it does make a big difference. And then I'm using the Lone Wolf steps, and just those two pack, the steps and the stand together when we're hiking in with them, it feels like there's nothing on my back. So that also makes it easier to set it up and take it down. One thing I noticed also with the difference with hunting public and private land, you guys are talking about wind and that. Public land, it definitely makes a big difference. Now, when I hunted out at my place, I think they're just so used to human scent and everything that it didn't bother them. I had deer within 6, 7, 8 yards from me, and the wind blowing right over them, and they just still just milling around. Whereas my very last hunt this year, I had a couple of does come up from behind me, and I knew the wind was going to be blowing right at their direction. And as soon as they hit a certain point, they smelled me, turned around, hightailed it right back. So I think a lot of them might have to do with what they're used to too.
Yeah.
Like when you go out and hunt spooky, it's probably totally different than when you go to the mountains or
Missouri.
yeah.
If you hunt in a populated area, like an urban area,
Right.
human scent's not going to freak the deer out anywhere near as much as where we hunt way back in the mountains.
So that was something I learned this year was that the big difference between hunting private and public land. Public hunting is totally different. It's way harder. Of course, you can't bait or anything like that on public land. So on your own land, you can set up stations basically, and pretty much where they're going to come. Now, as in trying to figure out, because I still have deer coming from all different directions onto my property, and that's where I have to kind of figure out, where their bedding area is, but I'm trying to give them everything there that they need. I got mineral sites, food sites. I got running water all the time. I got springs on my property. So I'm trying to give them everything they want so that they do stay in that area. And as we used to call Ken's place here, the petting zoo or something like that.
Yeah. See, was it you or Brad that was hunting the petting zoo and moved his hand
Oh,
Yeah.
and got busted from 120 yards away?
I took off a glove, just one glove, in my lap, slowly. Gone.
Yeah, it ain't easy. They're also smart.
Yeah.
They know where we are. Goals. What are the goals?
Well, my goal for 2019, first off, is I hope to have a beautiful baby daughter next month. That's my first goal. Second goal is get our house built and be in our house, at least before hunting season starts. And I know that I've been wanting to go out in Missouri probably since you guys been going.
Yeah.
And I had all determination to go this year, but I just had so many irons in the fire, and with the wife being 6 months pregnant, I just didn't feel comfortable leaving her, and so. But she already gave me the green light to go out for next year, so I'll be set to go with that trip, and looking forward to meeting Don and Chris. I still haven't met Chris yet. And going to eat at Toot Toots.
Yeah, now you're talking. Now you've eaten Toot Toots.
Yeah, I've eaten at Toot
The
Toots.
place is great. My goal is to make it to the fall, and then once I get there, try to get myself a trad kill, traditional kill with the longbow, and do do it right, do it clean. That's what I want. So I'm going to be working on that really heavy through the summer. Practice. Of course, our goal is to go to Missouri again next year. We love that. At some point in time, I would love to go out and do an antelope hunt, an archery antelope hunt, whether it's western Nebraska or Wyoming. But that's something on the bucket list, is to go do a good hunt on some antelope.
I can throw an elk hunt in there.
Well, an elk hunt, yeah, but
Elk is
at
good.
this stage in my life and physical conditioning, it will be over a water hole because I'm too old and tired to climb mountains anymore. And of course, next year, do my best to try to whack some nice bucks on some public land. That's always fun. Private lands, around here, it's fun to hunt on, but there's nothing like going to public land where you're not just competing with the deer, you're competing against everybody else. Anybody can walk in there and do what you're doing and do the best that they can to try to whack a deer that you're in there trying to whack too.
We've kind of been spoiled with our place here in South Carolina.
we've been
It's
spoiled.
public land, but we've kind of been spoiled because where our location is.
Yeah, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's way back in the back. So we kind of been spoiled with that. But public land hunting is fun.
Yeah, it is.
It's a challenge. Brad, what's your goals, man? What do you got planned for this upcoming year?
Time in the stand. That's my goal. Try to get work squared away, make sure family's good and situated, and just get to the woods. So
Good. Well, that was the last thing on our bullet list here. Unless you guys have some questions or something for us, we can wrap this thing up. It's probably been 45 minutes.
Almost an hour.
Almost an hour. That's good. We were targeting for an hour, and I thank everybody that checked in to watch. And we're not a bunch of professional hunters. We're just three guys that like to go to the woods and chase deer. So if you
It's all his fault too.
It is my fault. I warned him before we got started that this was incredibly addicting. But if you tuned in here, expecting to get some wisdom like from Dan Infault or some of the Drury brothers, you're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
We're just guys with regular jobs that like to go to the woods and hunt deer and have a good time. So thank you all for tuning in and watching us. And that'll wrap up the very first end of season roundtable for OWM. It took 6 years, but we finally got around to doing one.
It's been fun. I definitely have enjoyed the journey. I think what a lot of people miss out on, we can post pictures and some videos here and there, but it's what we do. I guess I call it the behind the scenes, like our rides to go hunt that morning or that evening, or just sitting around eating dinner, or Ken's wife, Christy, we love you, and we love when we come back from being in the woods all day and she has a full meal laid out for us, and it's like, oh my gosh.
and the bloody arrow.
And the bloody
Oh
yeah.
But yeah, it's not only just the hunting; it's the camaraderie that we get out of it too. We've become like a family, and Ken, he was my best man. Brad was in my wedding, and we've enjoyed it. It's been a fun ride, and we hope to continue that ride for a long time. But I'm sure eventually, with some hope or maybe a little guidance, Brad and I will get our daughters into it at some point.
Absolutely. Lifetime hunting license.
Yep.
Gotta get it.
Bring them on. Crazy uncle's got all kinds of stuff to teach them.
Yep. Well, that's what your daughter used to call us.
Yes.
Her two crazy uncles are coming.
They were the guys to call whenever a body needed to be disposed of. So. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up, guys. Thanks for watching, and for those of you that get to see it later on, I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll keep going all season long with updates and scouting and all of that. So keep checking back on our page.
Yeah, because I'm gonna, for my land this year, once the house really gets going, I'm gonna try to do more videos on not so much hunting, but more like land management, stuff like that. Since I do have my own property now, I want to basically take you from point one of where I got trees and all that, where that's going to get cleared and then, fertilizing and putting in food plots and stuff like that. Not that I want to take anything away from hunting or anything like that, but just another thing to add to it. And always feel free to, ask us questions, whether it's with what type of equipment we use or where we hunt or any type of strategy. Not that I have a whole lot of knowledge of that. Again, I'm still getting into it. But I do learn a lot along the way. I learned a lot from these two guys sitting next to me when I, just going out and hunting and then just talking to other people. The more people you talk to and converse with, the more you're going to learn about it. Like with Ken learning how to do the traditional bow this year and talking with Mike Bush and learning more about that. And Mike, no, I'm not going to a trad bow for a while, okay? So I killed one deer and Mike's already asking me, you ready for a trad? No, I'm not. It's going to be a little while for that one. So, but we just look forward to everybody following along with us in 2019, and we'll hopefully keep everybody updated on what's new. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to post them. I'm good.
Done.
Let's do it.
Peace.
See y'all. What does that say?